Nityānanda Trayodashi Mahamahotsa Ki. Nitai Guru Paramanda. Hare Krishna. So, today we are celebrating. No, you can keep it there, thanks. Yeah. We're celebrating, as we said, Lord Nityananda's appearance day. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Vrinda, as in not this Vrinda, but Sunderland Vrinda, sang a bhajan. Am I correct? Yes. Yeah. Does anyone remember the name of the bhajan? Nitai Padakamala, did you say? Yeah. Very good. Just for a bonus point, does anyone know, we always say, we call the song Nitai Padakamala, but there's an official name for the song. Does anyone know? Okay, so I'll test you on this at the end. It's actually called Mana Shiksha, Teachings to the Mind. That's the name of the song. We usually just call it Nitai Padakamala. But yes, this is a wonderful song, and I thought, because sometimes we sing these songs and we have no idea what we're singing. Did we read the translation to it? No. We did, okay, that's good. So I thought it might be nice to explore this bhajan. Bhajan means like a devotional song. We have, there's lots of different songs. Yesterday I was giving a little talk here to our Project Sadhu devotees. This is our new initiative by Ramesh Prabhu to, for the students. So we were giving a little talk about, thank you. Thank you. We were giving a little talk about how we can stop scrolling on our phones. Put your hands up if you scroll on your phone too much. Yeah, so we were talking about how to counteract being addicted to our screens and utilize our time properly. And the way that we could do that was to understand what is the deeper meaning to life and how valuable time is. And that if we understand how valuable time is, and that time itself is a representation of Krishna. And if we understand that, then we will not disrespect time, we will utilize our time. But anyway, what I was going to say was, as a result of preparing that talk, I got to realize how old I am. So we were talking about how the internet was invented. And I remember when the internet first came out, and we were talking about the different generations. So Generation X was 1965 to 1980. So that's me. Put your hands up if you're Generation X, 1965 to 1980. Before that, there's the baby boomers. That was something like 19-something to 1965. Put your hands up if you're a baby boomer. Okay, so then after Generation X was Generation Y. They're known as millennials. That's 1980 to 1994. Put your hands up if you're a millennial. Okay, then we have Gen Z. Gen Z. Or in England we say Gen Z. Gen Z. So that's I think 1994 to 2009. Put your hands up if you're Gen Z. Okay, then after that we have Generation Alpha. So that's 2009 to 2024. Put your hands up if you're Gen Alpha. Yeah. So as a result of that, if you're feeling old, I was also feeling old yesterday. So the point we're making is that there are songs that we can sing, and I was going to, give an example of who's a famous pop star. So, in my day, it might have been Madonna or someone like that. Nowadays, maybe Taylor Swift or someone like that. But these are songs, but a bhajan is a devotional song. So bhaj has the root meaning to worship. So these are songs, not just mundane pop songs, where we're glorifying pop stars or mundane subjects, but a bhajan is a song, and Bhaj means only to worship the Supreme Lord. You know, we may worship so many people in this day and age, Taylor Swift, or you know, you you realise all your references are out of date. So we might say, worshipping the world's strongest man, Jeff Capes. No, I'm just joking. He's a reference from my era. He passed away recently. I think then it was Eddie Hall. He was the beast. Anyway, we're going off the subject. But the point is that we may worship different people in this age, but the only person who's really worthy of true worship, or bhajan, is Krishna, the Supreme Lord. So this bhajan that we were singing, Nitai Padakamala, is glorifying Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. Now what does that mean? We'll come on to that in a minute. But the interesting thing is that the process for self-realization, the process for enlightenment in this age is to chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And this is a very simple process. And just by chanting these 3 words in a combination of a 16-word mantra, 32 syllables, we can achieve perfection just by chanting Hare Krishna. Let's try it again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. But before hearing the Hare Krishna mantra, or before hearing the holy names of Krishna, we need to hear about the holy names of Krishna. Because when we hear about, by the way, these are our future leaders of ISKCON Newcastle next door. Bear with them if they're being noisy. Children are noisy, but in their own way, they're also celebrating Nityānanda Trayodashi next door. We're having a birthday party. And, you know, Lord Nityānanda is the birthday boy, so that's what they're doing next door. So yes, it's a simple process by which we can achieve perfection, but we have to hear about the holy name. Because when we hear about the holy name, we hear the glories of the Hare Krishna mantra. We hear about the benefits of chanting Hare Krishna. It encourages and inspires us to enter more deeply into our chanting. Because we can just chant whimsically, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. You know, and it's just like letters of the alphabet. But if we enter more deeply into our chanting, that we realize that the holy name and Krishna are one and the same. There's no difference between Krishna and his holy name. So to enable us to get more deeply into chanting Hare Krishna, just like Kirtan is wonderful, we're going to be having lots of Kirtan today, but bhajan, these songs, they help us to understand the holy name more deeply. They allow us to enter more deeply into the chanting, and it focuses our meditation, it focuses our moods. And our moods in Krishna consciousness is very important. Srila Prabhupada, in the Nectar of Instruction, there's one of his most powerful statements, and it's not even in the book itself, but it's in the preface. And Srila Prabhupada writes that advancement in Krishna consciousness, and that's what we all want to do, right? Put your hands up if you want to advance in Krishna consciousness or spiritual life. Yeah. So would you like to know the secret? Okay, so Srila Prabhupada says advancement in Krishna consciousness is dependent on the attitude of the follower. Depending upon the attitude. There's one name for Krishna, Bhava Grahi Janardana, which means that he's interested in our moods. He doesn't accept so much the service, like sometimes we might cook something for Krishna and we've burnt it. Put your hands up if you've ever burnt something when you're cooking for Krishna. Yeah. So in other words, what we're offering to Krishna may not be first class in terms of the product itself. But if our mood is correct, that we're just trying to please Krishna. Like my mum used to say to me when I was younger, if I was being naughty, for God's sake, will you stop that? So Krishna consciousness is for God's sake. It's not for our sake, it's for God's sake. In other words, to please Krishna. So this song that we sang, Mana Shiksha, Teachings to the Mind, is very important because Krishna consciousness is all about controlling our mind and senses. Now you might think mind control, that sounds a bit like a cult. Keep away from the Hare Krishnas, they want to brainwash you. Mind, they're talking about controlling your mind. Now what it means is, if you don't control your mind will control you. Who's ever found themselves doing something that they don't really want to do, but their mind pushes them in the wrong direction? Yeah. I'm not the only one, that's good. Let's try and keep this door closed if someone would like to close that door, otherwise the children, thank you. I didn't mean yourselves coming in. That's meant because the children are having a program next door. Yeah, we have to engage, we have to control our mind and senses by engaging our mind and senses in the service of Krishna. This is what helps us to control our minds. And then Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the mind is either the best friend or the worst enemy. The mind that is controlled is our best friend, and the mind that is controlling us is our worst enemy. It will convince us to go to hell, and then when we get back, it will convince us to go again. So in other words, back to Vinod Thakur, one of the great saints, he said, "My dear mind, you are no Vaishnava." That means like no devotee of Krishna. So we have to be careful with our minds. Now that brings us on to Lord Nityānanda. So this song that we sang, Nitai Pada Kamala, or Mana Shiksha, this describes that Lord Nityananda's lotus feet are shelter. Lord Nityananda's feet are shelter. Now what does that mean? What are Lord Nityananda's lotus feet shelter from? Let's ask yourselves. What do we need shelter from? What did you say, Sammy?
Material world.
The material world. Very good. Anyone like to say something else, or maybe even elaborate? What's in the material world? What do we need shelter from in the material world? The weather? I don't know. What do we need shelter from in this material world? What's troubling us? Sense gratification. Yeah. And what is, so they say one man's food is another man's poison. So one person's sense gratification is another man's poison. So like for some people, they love to eat chilies. Put your hands up if you like to eat chilies. Put your hands up if you don't like chilies. Yeah. So in other words, for instance, someone has a material, well, not necessarily a material desire, but someone has a desire to eat chilies. But for me, chili is just like spoiling an otherwise good meal. It tastes lovely. When you put the chili in, it doesn't improve the taste. It just gives you the hiccups and makes your eyes water. But if you ask someone like Satchameda, do you like lots of chilies in your food? Of course. So one man's sense gratification and another is another man's poison, right? So when you say Kiran, sense gratification, really what we need shelter from is what is known as the blazing fire of material existence. In other words, our material desires. Now, why do we need shelter from our material desires? Isn't that the goal in life? To try and chase our goals? To try and fulfill our desires? Is that not the goal? So why would we need shelter from this blazing fire of material existence, from our material desires?
To break the cycle.
To break the cycle? Yeah, to break the cycle of repeated birth and death. Very good. Anyone else? To be able to remember. So you're saying that our material desires, they distract us. They distract us away from Krishna. Yeah, very good. Anyone else? Why do we need shelter from our material desires?
It's never satiated.
Sorry?
It's never satiated.
It's never satiated. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Anyone else? Yeah, there's a famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 39, where Krishna comments upon this point that Sudevi was saying. Yes, Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Dushparena lalena cha. So in other words, the reason we need shelter from our material desires is because even if we fulfill our desires, are you satisfied? Or do you want more? If you get the latest MacBook Pro, I don't know, I'm not really into computers, but what happens a year later? Sorry? Pro Plus, yeah, that's like the next, you want an upgrade, in other words, right? You get the latest iPhone, what are we up to now, iPhone-wise? 17. See, I'm an Android man, I'm an S25, that's what I'm on. You get the iPhone 17, right? And then as soon as you get it, what do Apple do? They bring out, here's the iPhone 18. So then you work hard for the 18, and then you get the 19, you know? So whatever you do, you always want more, more, more. There was a song by Billy Idol. More, 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 more. You always want more. And there was another song by Queen, I want it all, and I want it now. So the point is that whatever you get, it's temporary, and it burns like fire. It's a bit like on a fire. When I was in the Boy Scouts, tip, 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 top, 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 we used to go on scout camp, and we used to have to make a campfire. And we used to cheat. We would go into the mess tent, and we would get the cooking oil, and we would pour cooking oil on the fire. So you would get a really big flame. But the interesting thing is, as soon as you pour cooking oil on a flame, the first thing is that the flame goes out. Like it quenches the flames go down. But then within the next moment, it comes up even more. So our material desires are like that. We satisfy them, and temporarily the flames go down. Oh yes, I'm happy with this iPhone 17. And then, I want the iPhone 18, I want the MacBook Pro Plus, I want this, I want that. So therefore, no matter what you do, you cannot find peace. But Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 66, here we go, he says, here we go, this is a really nice verse, yeah. So Krishna says, one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? So there can be no happiness without peace. So even if we try to fulfill all our desires, we're never going to be satisfied, and we will never have peace. And there'll be no happiness without peace. So therefore, the point is that they are temporary and they don't really satisfy us. Has anyone experienced that? I mean, put your hands up if you've experienced that. Yeah? So we've all got that experience. So we want something that is going to satisfy and that's going to put out the fire of material existence. So therefore it is said that Lord Nityananda's lotus feet are like 1,000,000 moons. Koti Chandra Shushutara. Like 1,000,000 moons. Now who's ever been for a walk in the full moonlight? Nice. That's like something very romantic, right? You go for a walk with your partner in the moonlight. But has anyone ever noticed what's it like being in the full moonlight? Everything's dark except, well, I would say, actually, yes, very good, thank you. The moonlight illuminates the whole sky, doesn't it? If you go out on the dark moon nights, particularly in our temple in Scotland, at the top of the hill, there's no lights. And walking up, but I remember we would walk up when there was a full moonlight, and it illuminates everything. So one thing is the full moon illuminates everything. In other words, it dissipates darkness. Or within us, it dissipates ignorance. Tamasi ma, jyoti kumar. Do not remain in the darkness, go to the light. But there's another interesting thing about moonlight. Does anyone else know what that is? What effect does it have? It's very cooling. Yeah, now in this country, we don't want it to be cool. We're cool enough. But if you go to somewhere like a hot country like India, the full moonlight is very nice. It's cooling. So we want something to cool our minds. Because the mind is connected to the moon also. We have this expression, lunatic, right? Not sure if that's politically correct to call someone a lunatic nowadays, but there's that expression, someone's a lunatic. But lunar means the moon, right? There's a connection between the mind and the moon. Some people turn into werewolves, I'm just joking. But there's a connection. So therefore, it is described that the lotus feet of Lord Nityānanda are cooling like millions of moons. They cool this blazing fire of material existence. Now, what does it mean to accept the shelter of Lord Nityānanda? Would anyone like to suggest? What does it mean to take shelter of Lord Nityānanda? Dinesh, were you going to say something? No. You're just having a stretch. Well, it's very poetic sounding, isn't it? Taking shelter of the lotus feet. Oh, Prabhu, it's Nityānanda Trayodashi. I'm just going to take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityānanda. What does that mean? Sounds very nice, right? But what does that practically mean? It means to take shelter of the instruction. When we say take shelter of the lotus feet of the spiritual master, it doesn't necessarily mean that you just, wherever the spiritual master walks, you just hold on to his feet and he's walking around. It's like, God, all these people hanging onto my feet, give us a break. It doesn't necessarily mean that. But what it means is by taking shelter of the instruction, because by taking shelter of the instruction, that is the medicine for the disease. If we want to get free from the disease of being plagued by unlimited material desires, we have to take shelter of the instruction. Now, what is the instruction of Lord Nityānanda? Sorry? Chant. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Well, this is a really nice summary of Lord Nityānanda's instructions. This is from a song called, what's it called? We sing Nadia Godruma Nityānanda Mahajan. It's like the market, like the broker, right? What's the actual name of the song? Sorry? Oh, that's the song, yeah, that one. So, okay, in Nadia's Godruma, the great soul, Lord Nityānanda, has opened a marketplace to sell the holy name to the conditioned souls. You can imagine if you go down to the market. I used to distribute books in a place called Chesterfield. It's in Derbyshire. And there was always a man there on the marketplace saying, tomatoes a pound on your tomatoes a pound on your tomatoes a pound, all day long, pound on your tomatoes a pound. So you don't get so much nowadays, but in the old days you'd have like marketplaces, and that's what they're doing. They say, come on. So Lord Nityānanda, he's saying, pound on the holy name. Holy name's a pound. Actually, it's not even a pound, it's described as a 1 paisa, which is a very small amount. 1 paisa of faith. That's all we have to give. 1 paisa on your holy name. Holy name's for a paisa. So that's what Lord Nityānanda is doing. He's in the marketplace and he's selling the holy name. He's giving it away, actually. 1 paisa means it's like, when you go to a shop and they've got like the bargain bin, and it's like anything here, it's just reduced, So he's practically giving it away. So then he says, O faithful people, O my brothers, by the Lord's command I ask this charity of you. So these are the instructions. Please chant Krishna. Worship Krishna and learn and teach about Krishna. Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna, Shika. He said, chant Krishna's name without offense. Accept Krishna as your mother. Accept Krishna as your father. Accept Krishna as your wealth and life. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dana Prana. He says, give up all sins. Make Krishna your whole world. Be merciful to all souls. Chant Krishna's name. That is the essence of all religion. So chant Krishna, worship Krishna, and teach people about Krishna. Krishna's your mother, Krishna's your father, Krishna's the very treasure of your life. So this is the instruction. So by following this instruction of Lord Nityānanda, this will quench the blazing fire of material existence. Now, what is the result of getting Lord Nityananda's mercy? What is the result? You go back to Godhead. Yeah. But even more than that, because going back to Godhead, sometimes we talk about this phrase about going back to Godhead, almost like we're here in the material world and we want to go back to the spiritual world, right? And yes, that's true, but the spiritual world is also a state of consciousness. We can be in the spiritual world right here, in the material world. How is that? Because everything is made up of Krishna's energy. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. So the point is that, like, electricity can be used for two purposes. It can be used to heat in the oven, or it can be used to cool in the freezer. It's the same energy, but it has a different effect. So when we're in spiritual consciousness, when we're in Krishna consciousness, this is also the spiritual world. So therefore, you're right, we will, by getting the mercy of Lord Nityananda, we will go back to Godhead, but more importantly, we will be free from all material desires. That is the consciousness of someone in the spiritual world. They have no desire other than that to please Krishna. We're not plagued by this blazing fire of material existence. My goodness, it's so hard dealing with our material desires, isn't it? You know, it's like someone just... If you remember those old cartoons, they used to have like Tom and Jerry, and on one shoulder's the devil, and then on this one it's the angel. And it's like that, isn't it? It's like sometimes even we make, you know, like January, we make some New Year's resolutions. Well, I'm going to be really good, you know, and then the angel's saying, yeah, just follow all your New Year's resolutions, and then the devil pops up. Oh, but what about this? What about that? Oh, please be quiet. And then they're fighting, and often the devil wins. So it's like that. That's what our blazing, because, you know, even they're just rising all the time. So to become free from material desires, so that our only desire is to satisfy Krishna, this brings peace. And like Krishna said, there is no happiness without peace. Now, Srila Prabhupada says to the purport to this song, he says that unless we take shelter of Lord Nityananda, we cannot approach Radha and Krishna. And this is the aim of Krishna consciousness. This is the actual goal. We may feel a long way away from Lord Krishna, Radha and Krishna. I mean, when I go to the temple, I often don't pray to Radha and Krishna. I just pray to Lord Nityananda and Lord Caitanya, because I feel like I'm not qualified enough to pray to Radha and Krishna. It's like, I'm such a long way away. You know? But, unless we get the mercy of Lord Nityananda, we cannot even approach Radha and Krishna. So we shouldn't forget, at least, that this is the goal. When you get in the car, what's the first thing you do? If you're going, let's say if you're going somewhere you don't know, what do you do when you get in the car? Put your sat-nav on, exactly. If you're going somewhere you know, it's okay. But particularly if you're going somewhere you don't know, and I don't know the way to the spiritual world, I need the guidance of Bhagavad Gita, I need the guidance of Srila Prabhupada, I need the guidance of Lord Nityananda. So when you get in the car, you set your goal, you set your destination. This is where I'm going. And then what will the sat-nav do? It will take you on the best route to get there. It will say, watch out, if you go down the A1, there's been an accident there. Someone's fallen into Maya. If you go down that road, you might get into Maya too. But watch out this way, there's roadworks. There's impersonalist philosophy. You might get caught up there. You know? And then sometimes you set off on the right journey, but then it says, now we've adjusted your journey because there's something going on this road, you know? So sometimes you think you're on the right way, but something happens. So you have to set the goal. So we should understand Radha and Krishna is the goal. How am I going to get there? By first setting the sat-nav. First setting the goal within my heart and mind that I want to get to Radha and Krishna. Now, Lord Nityananda, or in this song we were singing, if there is no connection with Lord Nityananda, we have wasted our human form of life. But the good news is, we have made a connection with Lord Nityananda, because we're all here today. Shri Nityananda Ram Prabhu Ki. Come on, it's got to be more enthusiastic. Shri Nityananda Ram Prabhu Ki. That's better. So we have made a connection. We haven't wasted the human form of life. And the reason we waste our human form of life if we don't make a connection with Lord Nityananda is because otherwise we will just be struggling our whole life trying to satisfy our material desires. And then we are no better than the animals. The animals have 4 propensities. Can anyone tell me one of the 4 propensities of the animals? Eating, sleeping, what else? Defending, mating. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. By the way, we're not having a go at animals when I'm saying you're no better than an animal. We like the animals. Sometimes when I'm distributing books on the streets, they say, I only give to animal charities. I say, that's fantastic. We do a lot to help animals. We don't eat them. I mean, that's quite a good help, isn't it? At least it's a good start. Don't eat them. So there's not, don't get us wrong. There's nothing wrong with animals. We love animals because they're all spirit souls. They're all part and parcel of Krishna. But the point is that an animal will only engage in these 4 animal propensities: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Now we think we're very advanced because we eat, with a silver spoon. We mate, in a luxurious bed. We defend with nuclear weapons. What's the other one? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Eating. Oh, I think I said that, didn't I? Sleeping. Yes, we sleep for too much time, actually. Hit the snooze button. So, all we're doing, if we're just eating, sleeping, and mating and defending, albeit in a polished way, we're no better than animals, but we have a special gift. Actually, everything has a special gift. The butterfly, do you know what is the special gift of the butterfly? It can fly. Well, that's definitely a gift. But what else? Okay. Who spent a long time in front of the mirror trying to make themselves look beautiful before they came out today? Is it only me? Yeah, we did. We spend our time grooming ourselves in front of the mirror, right? Putting on our makeup or our tilak on our earrings and putting on our moisturizer. Like what people will say nowadays, what's your skincare routine, Actually, devotees, they don't need a good skincare routine because they're naturally effulgent and healthy. But the butterfly is naturally beautiful. A butterfly, you see like a red admiral butterfly, is naturally beautiful. That is God's gift to the butterfly. We're not naturally beautiful, speaking personally. Some of you are. But as we get older, those looks fade. Very quickly, we start losing our hair and getting grey hair and wrinkles. What is the bird's special gift? It can fly, yes. We can't fly. I mean, not unless we get in an aeroplane, but we can't fly. So what is the special gift of a human being? What is God's gift to a human being? We can chant, but yes, we have a higher intelligence by which we can question. What is the real purpose of life? Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now I have the human form of life. I'm not just supposed to live like an animal with polished eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. I should utilize my intelligence to understand, who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? What is the source of my existence? What is my relationship with the source of my existence? What happens when I die? This is what human life is actually meant for. So if we haven't made a connection with Lord Nityananda, we will never engage in the true purpose of human life. Like when we meet someone, we were joking yesterday in the student program. When you meet someone, what do you usually say? Can I have a banana? We say, how are you doing? How's it going? Right? How are you? But do you know what the sages, they would say to each other? They would say, Ihishitam yatta puna janma jayaya. Is everything going well in your endeavour to conquer the repetition of birth and death? So when you meet your boss tomorrow and he says, did you have a good weekend? You say, never mind all that. Ihishitam yatta puna janma jayaya. I beg your pardon. Is everything going well in your endeavour to conquer the repetition of birth and death? So this is the real goal of life. So the sages, they would remind each other, this is the goal of life. Set your sat-nav to Radha and Krishna. Set your sat-nav to taking shelter of Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. But the good thing is that an animal can be tamed. Also, we can tame animals. Like the snake. Right? You see, if you go to India, they have these baskets and then they play the snake, like a snake charmer. And then the snake comes out, I wouldn't want to meet an untamed snake. Can you imagine? It's like snakes are very envious. They will attack, even without provocation. I have one friend, one devotee. They were in the motorhome together, and a wasp landed on this devotee's arm. And the other devotee said, "Oh, watch out! There's a wasp on your arm." He said, "Oh, it's okay. If you don't attack them, if you don't bother them, they won't bother you." Right? That's what people say that sometimes, right? But then what happened was the wasp just stung him for no reason. So that proved that theory wrong. So if someone's really envious, if an animal's really envious, like a scorpion or a snake or a wasp, they will just sting without provocation. But you can tame even the most envious of creature with sound, and particularly with the sound of mantra. You can charm snakes with mantra. But we can also tame ourselves. We can tame our animal qualities by the sound of mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So these demoniac or these negative qualities that we have within ourselves, lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, envy, these things can be cured within us by taking shelter of Lord Nityananda and by taking shelter of the holy names of Krishna. Because sometimes it just feels like we're fighting a losing battle, right? Does anyone ever feel like that? It's like we've got these anarthas, these unwanted qualities within our hearts, and we just keep getting caught out with them again and again and again and again. It's like anger. That's a really hard one to give up, isn't it? Like I pride myself as being quite I'm quite a calm, I like to think of myself as quite a likeable person. I'm quite friendly, quite easygoing. And I am to a certain extent, but if I get above my level, when anger comes in, it's like, oh my goodness, it's just so uncontrollable, But there's a really nice prayer where Kaliya, he's a snake. He was one of the snake demons that attacked Krishna. And he prays to Krishna. He says, and I'm paraphrasing, but he says, "My dear Lord Krishna," he says, "I'm a snake, and therefore I am naturally angry and envious. I can't help it. I'm a snake. What do you expect me to do? I'm a snake. I'm naturally angry and envious. Please, my dear Lord, you please help me, because I cannot do this on my own." And I always love that prayer, because I feel like that. It's like, my dear Lord Krishna, I'm Caitanya Vallabha Dāsa. I'm full of lust, anger, greed. I'm trying to usurp your position. I'm trying to be the supreme controller. I'm trying to be the supreme enjoyer. And I just keep falling over again and again and again. I can't help it. I'm Caitanya Vallabha Dāsa. I've been born into this body with this conditioning. You please help me. But on this day today of Lord Nityananda's appearance day that we are celebrating, there is special mercy. We need extra special mercy. We're all like, speaking personally, mercy cases. Sometimes we can become a little proud, and we think because we're practicing a spiritual way of life, we're practicing Krishna consciousness, we can think, oh yes, I'm so great, I'm an enlightened person. But actually it's said that Lord Chaitanya And Lord Nityānanda, they've come to save the most fallen first. It's like, if I don't sort out these guys now, there's no hope. So we, on this day, we can understand we are hopeless and we are helpless, and we really need the mercy and we need the shelter of Lord Nityānanda. So the last thing is, because we can be easily covered over by Maya. Maya means the illusory energy, that which is not. We become covered over by Maya. And when we take shelter of things in this material world, because we said, why do we need shelter? But what do we often take shelter of in this material world? Maybe, okay, as devotees, hopefully it's Krishna, but we take shelter of intoxication, we take shelter of our own, we take shelter of our ego, we take shelter of technology, scrolling on Instagram or box sets on Netflix. We take shelter of so many things, but we've found out that they don't satisfy us. They're temporary and they burn like fire. Just Purana Lena Cha. So we might think maybe Lord Nityananda's feet, they're not going to give me true shelter either. So therefore we have to make an experiment. We have to, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So therefore we have to, especially on this day, we pray to Lord Nityānanda, please give me your mercy. Please give me the mercy at least to just try and make an experiment. Right? Even if we don't believe this is true. Okay, Lord Nityānanda, I'm going to make an experiment. I'm going to try and take shelter of you by following your instructions. Chant Krishna, worship Krishna, teach people about Krishna. Krishna's your mother, Krishna's your father, Krishna's the very treasure of your life. I'm going to try and make this my goal. And then see what happens. And the great sages, the great saints, Nityānanda Das Thakur, he prays in this way at the end. This is, So the result will be that we will become free from material desires and therefore we will become happy. So this is a wonderful prayer from Nityānanda Das Thakur. He says, Ha ha Prabhu Nityānanda, Premananda Sukhi, Kripa Bolo Kana Koro Ami Boro Duki. My dear Lord Nityānanda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you are always very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, then I may also become happy. Shri Nityānanda Ram Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. So, I think I may have gone over my allotted time. I don't know if we have time for any questions or comments. Maybe we could just take a couple. We'll do 5 minutes. So are there any questions or comments or any reflections? And a reflection means something that you've heard which has really struck a chord with you, something that you've remembered that you're going to take away. Kieran?
More of a question.
Yes.
So, when we eat prasadam today, will that burn like fire in the same way as indulging in other sense gratification?
When we take the prasadam today, will it burn like fire?
Like as in, will it kind of deplete us in the same way as all that? Is there at all a crossover with engaging with other sex gratification?
Well, it might burn like fire depending on who's cooked. If there's lots of chilies, it might burn like fire. Excuse my being flippant. No, very good question. No, actually, when we take prasadam, because like you say, we, let's say we have a desire to eat, right? And you eat, and you eat, and you eat, and you eat, and then, then you get ill, right? But when we take prasadam, because prasadam is non-different from Krishna, because it's been offered to Krishna, therefore it's called tadiya. It means it's non-different from Krishna, because it's anything connected to Krishna has the same potency as Krishna. So if you take an iron rod and you put it in a fire, that rod ceases to be iron, it becomes fire. And you can take that iron rod and you can touch it to something and it will set it on fire. So in the same way, anything that's in connection to Krishna becomes Krishnaized, it becomes spiritualized, infused with Krishna's energy. And therefore, anytime we have connection with Krishna, it purifies us. Krishna is the supreme pure. Just like the sun. When the sun is shining in the sky, we don't see it very often in Newcastle, but when it's shining in the sky, there can be like urine on the streets, I'm sorry, this is a graphic example, but Prabhupada gives this example. There can be dirty water, But the sun is so pure that the sun will evaporate that. That area that was once dirty and disgusting and you wouldn't go anywhere near it, the sun will evaporate that. It will absorb it. But the sun doesn't become contaminated. So Krishna's like that. He's the supreme pure. So just having any connection with Krishna will purify us. Krishna doesn't become contaminated. And therefore when we take prasadam, actually it will purify us of our material desires. Now you might say, but then I shouldn't just try and eat prasadam like sense gratification. So, yes, it's true. When we take prasadam, we should be in a mood of reverence. Like Srila Prabhupada, when he would eat prasadam, he would be on his own and he would eat in a meditative mood. And he was conscious that this is non-different from Krishna. When I was first at university, I read in the Hare Krishna book of vegetarian cooking that when you take prasadam, when you eat prasadam, you should have a nice spiritual atmosphere. So I would play like a bhajan of Prabhupada chanting. I would put on some incense. And then it said you should fill half of your stomach with food, a quarter of your stomach with water, and a quarter of your stomach with air. Right? So I took this literally. I would sit down with the Prabhupada bhajan and the incense, and I was eating very slowly, and then I would go... I was trying to get my quarter air in. But what it actually means is don't overfill your body. Leave enough room for liquid and leave enough room for air to help digest, because it's a fire of digestion. For a fire to be effective, you have to have oxygen in there as well. But I have to say, that was the most spiritual I'd ever taken prasadam in. I've never eaten like that since. Now it's just like, oh, this is nice. Oh, that's got too much salt in it. It's just like, I'm not eating in a very spiritual way. And that's okay. Srila Prabhupada said in the beginning, we can just take prasadam, eat till the neck. Of course, 25 years later on, we shouldn't still be eating like that. We should try and... But the point is that prasadam is so satisfying. It's so satisfying and it purifies us. So even if we just eat as much as we can, but of course at some point we should try to also control our tongue. But in the beginning, control the tongue by two things. By taking food that's been offered to Krishna and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. Does that answer your question? Thanks. Oh yes, Prabhu.
So as we are talking about the happiness, so basically a man as he grows older, he ends up with many things in his life. Family responsibility, survival, job.
Yeah.
He's fighting every day. Fighting with job, inflation, money, cost of living, many things, personal life, more responsibility. So in his life, he always fight with, that's what I can say, with different things in his life, with surrounding, with everything. As you are fighting, how one can be happy? Like, because we are already fighting in our life. At the same time, it's a battlefield, right, for one's life, everyone's life. Everyone has their own battles, their own lives. It's a different battle, but they are fighting. How can be one happy when he's fighting? That's my question.
Very good question. So if anyone didn't hear, he was saying that we're struggling with so many things, paying a mortgage, raising a family, going to work, just surviving in this world is like, it's like a survival, survival of the fittest, and it's like a fight. So how can we be happy while we're fighting, right? Good question. Well, so myself, I like to run, right? I like to run, and I run marathons and half marathons. And I can tell you what, that's a fight. Running 26.2 miles, it's a fight sometimes. But I am happy when I'm doing it, because it's like you're conquering over, you're getting out of your comfort zone, right? And initially when you get out of your comfort zone, it feels a little bit like, oh, this is hard work. Right? Who's ever been to the gym? Put your hands up if you've been to the gym. Is it hard to get yourself out of bed and go to gym before work? Yeah, damn right it's hard. Is it a fight? Damn right. But after you've been to the gym, do you feel better afterwards? Yeah. So therefore, yes, it's a fight, but it does bring pleasure because we feel happy that we're doing the right thing. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that spiritual life is like poison in the beginning. It is difficult. It does feel like a fight. But he says it turns into nectar. But the opposite is true of sense gratification. If we try to fulfill our desires, it will bring nectar to start with. Oh, this is nice, yeah? Yeah, I'm just going to, stick on Netflix rather than, looking after my children, right? Or I'm just going to scroll on my phone rather than looking after my children. I'm giving myself away here, aren't I? Whatever it is, we've got our own sense gratification. If we take the easy option, it feels good to start with, but actually it turns into poison because it's not rewarding. It's like choosing junk food or choosing nutritious food. Yes, it's more difficult to choose nutritious food, but in the long run, you feel better. So that's one thing. You can be happy even though you're fighting. But also, because the more we go on, the less of a fight it becomes. So, firstly, let me give this example. While alongside paying the bills, raising a family, doing all these things, we have to do those things. We're in the material world. We've got a material body. We don't neglect those things. That's not what spiritual life is about. But there's a very nice analogy that my spiritual teacher gives, which is if you go to the airport, you might spend a bit of time in the duty-free. You buy a drink from Starbucks, you get a magazine in W.H. Smith, you buy a sandwich from Pret a Manger, you go to the toilet, but you don't forget to catch the plane. That's the main reason you're there. So in the same way, we're in the material world, we've got a material body, we have a family to raise, we have to pay the bills, we have to pay our mortgage, we have to go to work. But we don't forget to catch the plane, and that means we don't forget to make time for our spiritual life. We don't forget to make time to read Bhagavad Gita, to come to the temple, to chant Hare Krishna. And we actually get such a satisfaction from those things that anything else becomes easy to deal with. It's not that just because we're spiritual, life isn't going to be full of difficulties. It will be. But it means that whatever life throws at us, our consciousness gets raised above it. It's like having a spiritual foundation, a spiritual force field. If you've got a force field around you, whatever anyone attacks you with, you can't be attacked. So when we actually take shelter of Krishna in the form of his holy names and in the form of prasad and food that's been offered like this, it forms like a spiritual force field around us. So whatever life's throwing at us, we don't become so disturbed. And everything isn't a fight. Is that okay? Does that answer your question? Please go on. If it haven't, what else are you still not convinced by?
Basically, I just wanted to understand how one can be happy in addition to what our day-to-day matters. So day-to-day responsibilities which we are doing. So as you say, the marathon, that's our hobby, that's my interest.
Yeah.
Our responsibilities may not be our interest, but it's our duty. We have to do. We are forced to do. Sometimes our boss ask us to do non-interesting work.
Mm-hmm.
If it is interesting, we can do that.
Yeah.
If it is not interesting, we don't feel to do that.
Yeah.
We won't be happy doing
Well, also when we connect everything to Krishna, then it ceases to just be a duty and it becomes devotional service. So if we see our children as their servants of Krishna, so it's not always easy. I've got 2 children myself. My children are 3 and 5. It's not easy. But if we try and see that these are devotees of Krishna, let me serve them because they are devotees of Krishna. If we make our house not just a house but a temple, this is Krishna's house. Then when you're having to do the housework, you're having to do the washing up, start the dishwasher, do the hoovering, doing the gardening. Oh God, I don't know. No, this is Krishna's garden. Let me make it look beautiful for Krishna. This is Krishna's house. Let me make it look nice for Krishna. I've got to go to work. Oh, but this is... No, but I'm going to use the salary that I earn from work to use that in Krishna's service. So when we connect everything to Krishna, it doesn't become a duty. It becomes it's a burden of love. So let me just ask you this. Are you a father?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, right, is it always easy raising your children? No. Is it a fight sometimes? Yeah. But if you're, do you have daughter or son? A daughter? Yeah. So, how old is your daughter? 20 months. Oh, congratulations. So, if your daughter at 20 months old just gives you a little smile and hangs onto your finger, how does that make you feel?
Yeah.
So it's a burden of love, right? It's like, oh, it's hard work. But does it bring happiness? Damn right it does, you know? Your daughter just comes up and just tells, Daddy, I love you. It's like, oh, it makes it all worth it. So in the same way, serving Krishna, it's not always easy. Oh God, I've got to do this and that. And it's like, but then every now and again, Krishna just gives us a little glance. You know, or we chant a round of japa and we feel Krishna's reciprocation, and Krishna's like, it's like, oh, it makes it all worth it. So although it isn't a fight, Krishna reciprocates with us. He encourages us, and we can be happy. And if you still don't believe us, I'm not saying you, but if we're still not convinced, make an experiment. Try it for the next week. Try and make time each day to chant Krishna's name, to read Bhagavad Gita. Make some time for Krishna. I can